Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Nice to see you. Welcome home.
This is my marae back in the day. I did jumping with my cousins. Hello, kia ora. Jumping the big photo of the big bee.
Is that Tama?
Yeah.
Oh, where?
Yeah, bro, look at the two amo.
Yeah, that's what I recognise. And
Even
that big massive window.
Yeah, that big, that big ridiculous size of window.
That's what I used to. I've actually seen when I was a lot younger, when I was just starting to get into how Māori. I actually seen an actual tūpapa coming through the window. You know, you don't really see it anymore.
They still do it down in Whakatāne, eh?
Oh, do they?
Yeah, Wairaka at the marae Wairaka, and so they got a tikanga for that. That only the living go in the door.
Yeah. So it's really when you actually do see those, because it was like both, because having the likes of Papa Tuawaru Malcolm, Papa Joe Malcolm in there, sharing stories, like when I first started with Taonga Tuawaru, hearing his kōrero of Ngāti Tarawhai, the early carvers, and a lot of the journeys that a lot of them went through in the creation of the whare, and actually those connections of the matapihi, you know, off the window and what its uses are and what goes in first and how you bring them out and all of those particular little nuances that people are giving it a go these days, but still unsure on how to do it. And it really expresses the saying, ka ako tikanga mā te whati tikanga. In order to learn about our customs and traditions, you must first break them.
That's how I learned how to make scones. Burn a couple of batches, then I read the instructions. Oh, not at 200, not 220, 170. Okay, kia ora.
As long as they weren't cheese.
Yeah. Te he te whakahaere o te karakia te timata nei.
Hoki ki tō tātou karakia te mei whakātu mai koe.
Okay. Well, you can pay here, Ian. Yeah. Awesome. Oh, looks like we've got a full list of our whānau here anyway. Okay.
Bye.
Just do the first half of the karakia. Here whānau. Oh, good. There it goes. Nice. Do you have a recording of Te Porowa playing the Tuawaru? I used to see it on the internet. I can't find it anymore.
It's half my poke it over. I'll have a look for it. And I've got June Grant. I'll show you shortly after karakia.
Okay.
She just gave me a taonga, which is like, whoa.
Oh, cool. It is.
Awesome.
Okay, I just saw June. Kia ora te whānau, ko tō tātou nei karakia. So we're just going to go through this karakia. Just so you know what you're saying, it says, in the beginning was the Supreme Creator, and from the Supreme Being came the different stages of the night. And that is the great night, the long night, the dark night, the beyond dark night, the night that turned away, and then the night that turned towards. That's a Māori way of saying that these nights were basically eons expanding out and coming into their ownness before light actually hit our understanding. The next part says, from the great night, huatakitanga is another word for timata. So it became the sound of Māori came from the atua. So like how they say in a lot of cultures, they say that in, say, Sanskrit language, they say Om is the pervading sound that comes through everything. The people from the Sufis say that it is the Hu, and we say it is the Ngu. So we all got different sounds. And we say that they happened above, below, within and without, which created the 4 vectors of movement. And from those vectors of movement came ihi rangaranga, which is the vibration that underlies sound and light. And mā ori ori, which is the pure resonance. And then toi te ku, toi te pu. Toi is like going back to actually their origins. It's a little play on art and origins. Toi te ku. And the ku is this puoro here. Ku. Toi te pu is a puoro, the start of everything. We put those together, you get kupu. Toi te wai. Now the waters were set free. Toi te ata, and that becomes now setting for when te ata is the shininess, and wai ata is actually basically like having shiny water, wai ata ata, and that makes sound with the song. Ka puta ko te ao, so then light came into being, out of the world as we know it came into being, and that will changes all the time. Tau mai te Māori, and that's where the life force is settled. Haumi e hui e taiki e. Ka pai? It's a basic whakamarama. Let's go together. So ngā whakaroto in the nose, hā whakawaho at the mouth, ngā whakaroto in the nose, hā whakawaho at the mouth. Last time, ngā whakaroto, nice deep one. Ai, I te timatanga ko io, mai ai o ka puta ko ngā pō. Ko te pō nui, ko te pō roa, ko te pō uri uri, ko te pō kere kere, ko te pō tāhuri atu, ko te pō tāhuri mai. Kei a te pō te huatakitanga o te oro Māori a te atua. Ki runga, ki raro, ki roto, ki waho. Ko ihi rangaranga, ko Māori ori. Toi te ku, toi te pū, toi te wai, toi te ata. Ka puta ko te ao, tau mai te Māori. Haumi e, hui e, tāi ki e. Māori ora.
Oh, ka pai e te whānau. I'm just gonna jump into share screen. Ka pai. Oh, tuatahi, tēnei te mihi ake ki a koe Kelly, nā wanu to tata karakia I rahina, I whakamārama anō hoki, no a tata Wānanga I te pōrei, tēnei te mihi ake ki a koutou katoa, ngā tōpito e whā o te motu, ko tūhono mai e te rangi ki tēnei o ngā pōmutunga mō tō tātou ne kaupapa nei I wainunu I māo o Kelly. Nō reira, ka whakawhiti nei o tōku reo. First and foremost, whānau, just acknowledge Mr. Kelly for leading our karakia this evening, as well as explaining and translating, giving the understanding of what the karakia actually means. And it's cool because it's been recorded, and so for those that continue on with this karakia after these Wānanga, you now sort of have a translation or an understanding of what each of the lines of the karakia mean. And Kelly will do the same for the second half at the end of the session, just so you have that in your archival knowledge, archival learning for the Wānanga. So these particular sessions can go on and people can reflect and look back at them. And so once again, whānau, here we are exploring musical histories of Tikanga Horo with myself and Kelly. Right, we'll get weeks of a minute time story here, the kōrero, catch up chat. This is that part of the thing where we share a little bit of a kito kōrero of what's happened over the last week. And before continuing on, I'll stop that part there. And we can all jump on to our reactions once again. If we jump into our reaction thing so we know who's had a turn and who hasn't.
Horo, whatever you just did just then, as you move closer towards the microphone, I don't know if everybody else, raise your hand if it got better, the sound. As you move closer, it became really clear, but further away it was breaking up. So maybe just stay close there, brother. Yeah,
Okay. Sweet.
nice when you're close. Yep.
I think it might also be when you share the screen, because I noticed that in another one. So it might be when you're screen sharing for some reason. I don't know. See when you do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's clear as now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll stay a bit close to this laptop. All good. And so, just once again, whānau, the 30-second catch-up chat will go around. I'll go last, and I'm just going to randomly pick somebody. Oh, got it, bro. You can go first, and just give our 30-second catch-up chat with whānau. Mauri ora.
A resident rock musician. Kia ora, Jay.
Kia ora, kia ora. I'm good. I spent last week up in the far north with your guys, mate, Blake Tekaha and others at the Te Rarawa Nohotawa, which was choice at the Kipe Waka Centre down in Orere there, which was awesome. Really loved it. It was beautiful. Quite wet, but very good. Yep. Had a go on a bukaya and it managed to make it go, which was choice. Hawatu ahu te rākau ki Ben.
Kia ora koutou. What have I been doing? I have finished making a pūrerehuia for one of my board members who has left the board. So as a bit of a thank you from me, I make them more taonga poro. So I managed to create it, and yeah, I'll be sending it in the post in the next few days. So ka huatu o I te rākau kōrero kia Priya.
Kia ora whānau. Well, I had a busy week holding the fort while Joe got to play up north, so doing the kids, getting back into teaching a new cohort of student teachers at Victoria, so just getting into that and thinking about how we're going to weave in some of the learning from and connect the student teachers with some of this stuff coming out of the Wānanga and getting them hooked into some of these resources. And yeah, it's just been the week has flown by. It's been really, really, really zoomed past. Ko ka hoatu au I te rākau kōrero kia... Oh, I have to change my gallery view. Kamo.
Kia ora. Yeah, manic week. Our school took 2 groups to Big Sing, which was very exciting, and our ngā puno Waioria won Best Waiata, as they should. So wait till next year when they crush them. I mean when we all celebrate together. But my absolute joy of the week is I finally bit the bullet. I was nervous, and then I contacted the tech teacher and said, help me, I need to buy wood because we're going to make a heck of a lot of porotiti in the last week of school for Matariki. And then he said, oh no, let me. And he turned up today with a huge box of native offcuts that he'd cut into the right size so that we can then just shape them with sandpaper and bricks and stone and that kind of stuff, so that we can make porotiti. And it turns out he's the best. I thought he was the best. He's better than I knew, to realize the importance of the native timber for it. So it's just really exciting, and we're just going to give it a go, see what happens. And kids have been playing it anytime that kids are, starting to get a bit tuned out. I hand them a porotiti inside or a pūrerehuia outside, and it's I'm loving life. It's just so cool. I'm having such a good time. So yeah, thanks. This group is like, I love it. Ka hoatu o I te rākau kōrero a Lenny.
Kia ora whānau. Had a really good week. We had a really beautiful Matariki celebration at one of the local schools where all of the schools got together, and I brought all of my kapahaka kids there, and so did everybody else, and we were all performing for each other and had a huge bonfire. The fire didn't mind the rain, so that was great. Yeah, we had a hangi, and it was just a really beautiful celebration for the whole community. Ka hoatu au I te rākau kōrero kia, I'm just scrolling. I can't see who's left. Who's left?
We've got Jane. She's coming across as a different pseudonym tonight, but that is Jane Herman
Oh,
right
there we
there.
go.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on my daughter's laptop. Mine's died, but she's back from the States. She just got back from college after 4 years. So nice to have my middle child back. She's a football player, but she did an arts degree. So yeah, it's nice to have yeah, you know, America's a scary place. It's nice to have her a bit closer after all that COVID years. But yeah, I have missed a few, but I see them every week. It's like my Sunday thing. If I miss it, I zone in. Kelly, I've been doing lots of your stuff. So this week we had Jake Skinner come in and do some stuff with the kids. And then this week I did, which was great. Awesome. So good. Recorded it, put some sound effects through it. I had a bit of fun with the desk, put a few effects on, you know, it was good times. And then did some of your things, Carly, like you were suggesting last week, like turn the lights off, which is a bit weird for teenage boys. They go a bit silly, and got them to do some, you know, listen to the Matariki, we did the Macy Rika song, and got them to do some active listening and do that thing where you cover your ears. That was real interesting, actually. You know, it's sort of hard trying that stuff with teenagers. You're not sure how it's going to go down, and there's always a few idiots that say something a bit off, and then you sort of got to deal with that straight away just to get the spirituality right. But look, apart from that, once we're in the zone, I'm stoked at how they're going with everything. Like, it's a big ask for them. They're not overly spiritual, so it's like even talking about Atua and that with them is it's quite out there for them, but yeah, it's going really well. So, and yeah, we've started making some, and yeah, trying the Mensa resources as well, just trying everything. And yeah, pretty stoked. And yeah, having actually Jake come in and talk about emotions and feelings in a boys' school with all those rugby lads, it was, you know, and doing it with the Tangaporu in context, it was kind of a beautiful moment for them to hear that and for them to feel that. And yeah, I've noticed a change in their attitude a bit since then. So it was a bit of a special thing. Again, full props to the group. Just even if I'm not here, I tune in and I get so many ideas, and kind of need that at the moment, to be honest. I need it personally. I think I need you guys and your nice feelings and the way I feel after listening to a session. So thanks. It's the middle of winter down here. It's freaking grim, man. It's grim in the south. Anyway, yeah, that's me. Nice to see you all again. And I haven't got my glasses on, so I actually can't see who is left.
Victoria, we've got Victoria back here.
Yeah. Nice to see you guys. Nice to see you back, Horomona. I love watching your stories. So good.
Victoria, we're just sharing our bank account details and our PIN numbers. Kia ora, your team.
Kia ora, I'd be happy to give those over because it can't get any worse in there. Okay. Can you actually tell me what we're actually saying though? Because I had to turn off my computer and everything.
Just what you've been up to over the last week.
Last week for my kura, I feel like I actually spent more time focusing on Pride Week, so celebrating those tauira under the rainbow area, and that was basically where I channeled most of my energy. But I mean, working with Carmel's just really good because we're just always around each other, and she's always got really cool ideas. And I'm sure she spoke, but I did see that the woodworking teachers come over and given some wood for us to make some taonga pōro. So that's what we're going to do on the last week of the term when Ngā Puna o Waiōrea students are doing their Matariki celebrations. So I'm looking forward to that.
Ka pai te whānau. I've just put in the chat here, we're always upgrading our te reo Māori, so for those who are having a good go at te reo Māori in the session, ngā mihi atu ki a koutou, this is what it's all about. Instead of saying kia ora whānau, let's try kia ora e te whānau, or e te whānau kia ora, either way, okay? Let's have a go together, eh? Let's try kia ora e te whānau.
Kia ora e te whānau.
Yeah, that's sounding more legitimate te reo Māori, so that's upgrading that a little bit. Those ones who are saying ka hoa atu au i te rākau kōrero, ka hoa atu au i te kai. You can change rākau kōrero for a lot of things. I'm handing over the food now. ka hoa atu au I te pūrere hua kia, you know, so use those phrases. Tēnā tātou. So far we have a thing called Puanga Matariki up here in the north. And for Puanga Matariki at the Hihiowa Cultural Centre, if you're ever in Whangarei, the Hihiowa Cultural Centre has a lot of really cool events going on. So for the whole month, on Saturdays, last week we had Wurumu Sarich coming in and he did whai, you know, the whai wawe wawe a Maui. Oh, look at this, kia ora. Give him a call, yeah, love it, yes. Shaka Zulu, oh, that's the wrong one, yeah. Yeah, so Wurumu has all these cool string games, and we got asked to come in and bring some puoro, and I just rang up some of the whānau around here, Kio Keski, who makes uku, play beautiful different types of kōwauwau, and also Rahana Tito, who's from Tangitāroria. He's a younger fellow who makes beautiful puoro. Anyway, they came on, and it was a bit of an electronic type of puoro mix-up, and it was cool as. We played every single beat that you dance hall down to whatever's with our puoro, and just more for movement for the people who are doing Wurumu's activities. So it's cool. Who knows what will happen this week? We've got some, what do you call them? The Kai sovereignty people coming in this Saturday, and we're going to be doing puoro to whatever they're up to. So ngā mihi, that's me. Kia ora horo.
Kia ora te whānau. It's been nearly a week since coming back from Hawaii, but it's been, yeah, what was an 8-hour flight to Hawaii? Took us 26 hours to get home. Because there were so many people from the islands that had gone into Hawaii for Festpac. All the flights were just full on, and so not everybody could get a direct flight back to New Zealand. Some had to fly via LA, and some had to fly via San Fran. And so San Fran was, Hawaii to San Fran was like 5-6 hours, and an 8-hour delay, and then 13 hours on the way back. So yeah, it was a bit of a full-on journey. But since I've been back, it's been full on. But I was recently given an awesome time, and I wasn't actually able to go to one of Regan's exhibitions in Rotorua to catch up with one of Te Ao Māori's most beautiful female artists. Her name's June Grant. And yeah, and at Regan's exhibition, she thought she would see me and gave Regan a taonga for me, which is this.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you can all hear it.
Yes.
But this particular wahine on this picture, her name is Kahukiwa. And so this is one of the earliest recordings on vinyl that you'll get of taonga form. And her recordings that were done by Mervyn McLean were in the 1950s, 1960s, wax vinyl. And yeah, this vinyl is so beautiful. It goes well on the recording, on the vinyl record player here too. And but you know, little things like this can happen every now and then. You get gifted something, and I actually didn't realise that on this, one half of it gives the kōrero on Pairo Venera and her journey, her interview with Mervyn McLean, and her playing of the taonga kōrero on the picture. Now, she was about 78 years old on this picture, and she had 22 kids, and not one of them took up taonga kōrero. And so it's but in my journey as a practitioner, going back down to Otaki, I've actually met up with one of the mokopuna, who are like the great mokopuna of Pairo Venera. He holds the Venera name, and he's started getting into taonga kōrero, which is really awesome. And he knows the legacy of his tupuna whaia, and so he's looking at finding where that particular kōwauau is and continuing the legacy. And so it's been really awesome to actually be back home and start the journey of another 4 years leading into the next Pacific Arts Festival that will be in New Caledonia. And so Yeah. And so, awesome whānau. I'm going to jump into share the screen again.
This is going to be not a great version of it, because if you got it on vinyl like Horo has, that's the beautiful version. Here's a link to it. It's in Spotify, the album as well. If you want to listen to our Whaia play some beautiful kōwauau there. If you have Spotify, you can go and check it out on there too.
Okay. And so, we've had our supported or whānau.
Yeah, it's definitely when you got the screen sharing on there that the sound
Okay.
goes a bit, yeah.
What about now?
We can hear you. It's just broken up. It just breaks up when you've got the screen sharing, but yeah, all good.
And so in this session, whānau, being the last session of the series, we sort of like have had a look at the content and the context of all the wānanga that we've had over the last 8 weeks, and brought together sort of like a few different ideas that hopefully will trigger and hopefully invite you or spark something inside you to have a discussion tonight. And that is to engage, explore, and embrace and educate us with Tāngata Horo and Te Ao Māori. Anyone has actually seen that piece on sort of this thing here?
Hey, Horo, can we just try something? If you're able to unshare, and I don't know, when you push share, did you choose the sound options that are in there? I'm wondering if that might help out with the voice. You know how you can click the sound, and maybe on your audio, what setting is that on too? I don't know if you have to change it to live performance or something like that. That might help it, eh? It's just very broken at the moment, brother. You may just have to unshare and then share again, screen share again, and it might clean it up by clicking those little boxes too. Ben, do you have any surveys too available for after this, or something that you might want to get some insights out of the sessions from? Not right now, of course, but like to send it through Mensa, because if we ever do it again, it'd be really good to get some insight of how we could expand out into other branches that we didn't even think of.
Yep, I'll have a look.
Oh boy. Well, not putting on you, obviously anyone in the organisation in Mensa, anyone can do it. Please do it again. Okay.
Okay, what else?
Oh, that's your suggestion, Kahukiwa. Yep.
I might try this one then. See if it'll work.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
It's gone back to sounding like Kōkako did before Maui gave him the secret of the beautiful voice.
No? Still not.
You want to send one of us the PowerPoint and we can show it and you speak to it. Is there another way to do it?
That is a good suggestion.
Well, I'll send a copy to you, bro.
Okay. You send it via my email or on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Via email.
Okay, I'll do that.
I'm actually not sure what happened there. But, anyway, whānau. What if I try? One of the things that we've looked at over the last, or the intention of these wānanga was to develop insights into Te Ao Māori concepts. It was to explore different styles of music, contexts expressed through combining and sharing music styles with taonga puoro. It was creating different ways of creating music for your students with taonga puoro. It was exploring different aspects of exploring with taonga puoro, and it was really
Sorry, this is the Patreon hearing.
yeah. And so it was really these were the topics that were hopefully there to trigger discussion in each of these wānanga. And I know during some of the wānanga we delved into and spoke into certain aspects, like the ihi, wehi and wana. We ended up doing that for 2 sessions because like any of these sessions, whānau, when you look at it, all of the wānanga combined is 8 hours. Now, if we went to a wānanga in person on a marae, that's only 1 day, equivalent to 1 day. And so one of the, I suppose, one of the underlying hopes that we are wanting to get from these wānanga is to really just plant some seeds inside of each of you, inside of your hinengaro, your mindset, into creating, understanding, and developing, considering, practicing all these particular aspects, and questioning every single part of it. So if you can go back to that engage page, bro.
Sorry,
And
is it
so,
this one here?
no,
Okay,
carry
so
on.
that one, yep.
That's it. And so all of those particular aspects from the 8 sessions I've put down to these 3 things: to engage, explore, and embrace as educators with taonga puoro and Te Ao Māori. And number 1, engage in creating and performing music within a range of contexts and settings. And so as both Kelly and I have shared, and some of you may have seen, like one of you shared tonight, the waiata of Macy Rika, the Matariki waiata. If you looked at that, you would have heard some taonga puoro in it. If you would have seen the video clip, you would have seen me as Tāwhiri Mātia throwing my eyes out into the sky and doing those particular things. And that's one form of the use of taonga puoro through contemporary music, through kapahaka music, through if you hear alien weaponry in terms of that type of music, you now hear a number of different musicians like Ray, like Rob Ruha, right through to the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra, New Zealand String Quartet, Royal New Zealand Ballet. A lot of those particular different genres and styles of musical ranges are using taonga puoro now. And so there are enough things out there in the archive of New Zealand music to hear and listen to different examples of engaging into the range of contexts and settings. Because from that, it's the explorative aspect that is something that you as an educator with your music class can explore. You can explore the styles of instruments of taonga puoro, of instruments that work with taonga puoro, forms and genres within the musical setting that you have as a teacher at your school, or musical setting that you are working with, whether you're working with jazz, whether you're working with soul, with R&B, whatever the context be. And then I also heard tonight that some of you are exploring the technological skills for music making. So having taonga puoro, having someone come into your kura and then recording or playing the taonga puoro with different technologies. whether you are reverbing the instruments, whether you have your foot pedals and looping them, whether you're recording them and doing those different technological skill sets, getting your students to play with technology and allowing them to understand that it is okay. Within a learning setting, within a Wānanga setting, it is okay to explore. As long as you understand or learn the foundational methodologies, and that's what we started off with. When we've had Wānanga around the country, we teach and we facilitate the foundations of taonga pūoro through learning what a kōwauwau is, what a pūtorino is, the traditional customs, the musical melodies, the inspiration, aspiration parts of it, that allows people to use their own creative expression in music making, using these instruments.
Horo.
And
just to add to that, whānau, when you're going with a, say if your akonga find a sample that they want to take, say if there's a nice pūkaia sample that, let's say, they might have got off Hiruni Melbourne, off one of his albums. Just like when you do hip-hop sampling, just teach them how to reference where it came from. That's really important, because a lot of our, you hear that a lot of Brian Flintoff's recordings are out there and they get used, and it's not always referenced, but he's also the main one whose stuff people use when they go and tāhai, they steal it for certain things, so just reference where it came from, and encourage them, try and open up the palettes of the other recording artists that are out there too for their body of work. And then if it could be a thing where you encourage them to get in touch with the artist as well, because they're all here in Aotearoa, and just ask permission. That's a really good process to go through. The best process is if they record it themselves. If you show them how annoying it can be to go through the proper process, and maybe it might encourage them to just record the sounds themselves. But if they do use that stuff that's out there, encourage them to get in touch with us or whoever created it. Builder.
Yeah, that's a really important factor, especially for stuff that they are sampling, that have been put into things like APRA, where artists have actually put their music into the publishing agencies that keep a record of their recordings, and if anyone uses them, there's a process, and if they don't go through that process, they can learn the hard way in being fined, being sued, or having to pay reparations of artists' intellectual property right. And so, and that's part of that whole thing of their exploration. So there are some files that you see in different music suits that you can use, that anyone can use, but just having that reminder of the intellectual property right of different music composers and songwriters. And so through that exploration, we come into, I suppose, one part that a lot of people have the fear of, and that is the embrace. Embracing the difference and understanding the context and content. When it comes to working with taonga pūoro, understanding the context and content of what you're doing in your music class. Context and content meaning if you're going to use a particular instrument or waiata, actually understanding who the writer is, where it comes from, or taking your class through that learning outcome of that, and learning about that particular content so it fits with the class objective. Also, the story of culture, environmental connection, and the different learning processes in the development of music skills. I've shoved quite a bit into this particular thing. Now, the story of culture, environmental connection talks about, like the pūtorino, coming from the ngahere, like the pūtātara, coming from the moana, like the porotiti, having that aspect of rongoa, having that aspect of healing through forms of meditation and the use of the winds that it creates, the different learning processes and the development of music skills. I'm talking there about your students. Now, some of your students will have a high capability of learning or understanding written, scored music. Some of your students come into your classes knowing how to listen to the music and uh, pick it up by the ear. And it's just understanding the different processes of learning that our students may have, upskilling them in the different areas that they need help, but also understanding that, yeah, all of our students have different developmental skills of music, and especially with taonga pūoro, it can be a shock for some, it can be a lot of learning for some, and it can take a whole term in just getting the sound of pōwauau. And for others, it can be just one class and they pick it up straight away. But although one takes a whole term, one takes a whole class, understanding that the one that takes a whole term may actually have picked up other things along the journey that the one that picked it up in the one class may not have. And it's just learning the different Wānanga learning processes in and around taonga pūoro. It doesn't take, as all of us know, as being teachers, as being educators, we all learn things at different speeds and different formats and different ways of understanding. It's just being able to pick up those little nuances along the way to help us engage with our students. And so just in this little spiel whānau, I'll jump out of this, I'll get the bro to jump out of this shared page and sort of like open it up to the floor, and actually want people to talk about these three things, about what are different approaches of engagement, of exploring, and how to embrace what we're actually talking about. Because the cool thing about it is, from the first wānanga that we've had to listening to you tonight, because I've missed the last couple, you can, like for me, I can hear a change in the way we speak in the beginning of our sessions to that from the beginning. When we talk about what we've been up to, there's clarity in what you are saying from when we started, and there's excitement behind the tone that some of you speak because of some of the journeys that you are already on, the engagement you've already created, the exploration that is happening already, and that embrace of what you're doing about that exploration and what's happening next for your school. Now, these things happen automatically. It's like that infinity number 8 thing. It's always happening, but it's being conscious of it. It's understanding that it is happening and being aware of it and knowing that you're on the right pathway. It is okay if you're a bit slower than others, or it's okay if you're speeding forward and you're not sure whether you have to pull back the brake to wait for others. All it is just really about seeing where everyone is and engaging in your community, not just the community at your school, but this community that you've created in these Wānanga series. The teachers from the different schools and the teachers from different learning taumata or learning stages, whether some of the teachers that have jumped on are secondary school, some are a bit lower intermediate, some are in and out, but it's understanding that you now have a community that you can engage with and talk about the music. You've got a community now that you can explore with, or hear what they're exploring about and hear what they're exploring with, and vice versa, and the embrace of holding on and making your community nice and tight. And so, what does that say?
Sorry, just a bit of a side note there, maybe to look at whānau. Anyway, we just get haere tōne what? Just talking about the engage, explore, and embrace could be looked at in a Māori framework, or actually as in a Te Tiriti framework, which is for all of us. That's tangata tiriti and tangata whenua, as in the 3 Ps, which are actually protection, participation, and partnership. And if we can encourage that kind of way of engagement, protection of the taonga itself. The participation is where we all are afforded the taonga itself to participate in using, and actually the partnership is making sure that we partner up with Māori as being the, I guess when we go on the waka of learning taonga Māori, that we go on the Māori waka and we take guidance from who those people are the kaiho to. Those ones who know how to navigate through that space all the time. That's what the partnership is, but it means that everybody on the waka is important, but making sure that the leadership of our taonga cultural practices are still through Article 2 of the treaty. So this is a really good way of looking at it too, what we're engaging in here for what the akonga might be learning at school, and yourself as teachers might be also learning at school.
So in that whānau, rather than go off into breakout sessions, just want to hear from each of you on what we've just spoken about. If we jump out of this break.
Oh, yes.
Kia ora te whānau. I feel like even just through these sessions, I'm feeling like more confident in using my limited kupu in the classroom. I think that in a weird way, being Pākehā and having some reo Māori, sometimes it almost feels like stage fright to use it, especially when you have students who are fluent in the reo and you don't, well, I feel sometimes like I don't want to fall short. So sometimes I get fear and don't try. And I think even just being in these sessions has given me the bravery to be able to have those moments and share. And, you know, I had some kids in class today and we had a kōrero about the maramataka, you know, matariki, and how we're holding those people dear to us who've passed. And it was just like a nice way to have a connection with one of my students whose uncles had passed, and like the relevance of that. And I definitely felt like it just like solidified a beautiful connection. And that's a good step, you know, and you can feel that. And so being able to do that, all that does is you just start that wheel and then it's just going to keep turning. Yeah.
That's such a beautiful kōrero, Victoria, and it goes on to the idea that we have as tangata Māori, that we don't want to just see te reo Māori and te ao Māori stuck inside of the te reo Māori classes or the kapahaka groups. It really has to be something that, like in what we have in a kura kaupapa, where it's actually infused through everything, and we want our people, like yourselves, to be feeling confident in aha ko he iti, he paunamu, you know, whatever you utilize will make those people feel really comfortable, just as the same way if we celebrate the other cultures as well. But having te reo Māori and having te ao Māori out there as as part of a treaty partner, that's one of the 2 treaty partners, the signatories there, very important, you know, that we honour that for our kids. They feel it's so empowered when they hear, even if they hear your pronunciation is not quite on, but you're humble enough to learn from them still. That's what they love. They love them being able to teach, you know. That's your moment where you become the learner teacher. The whole principality of ako is alive there.
Yeah.
I'll put this person behind me so we can remember some of the stuff that we're honouring here, you know, and this taonga that Horo and myself here are being kaitiaki of. You are kaitiaki of it too, just as much as we are. It's just that we have more responsibility from our cultural practices to make sure that we hold the tikanga and help to spread the tikanga. So kia ora.
For me, I would say it's understanding further the whakapapa of atua and how they fit in Tongaporo. And I really liked, Kelly, last week, your kōrero about understanding how atua fit and with people in the stories in the realm of where they are in Te Ao Māori, because I do sometimes have conflicts when you're talking with students about religion and that kind of aspect, that your kōrero was very insightful, and then I could then actually even have that deeper kōrero with kāko Māori at my kura and unpack it a bit more and build that understanding that when I do talk about atua to my kids, it's religion is it's a different kind of understanding is a good way of putting it. I think it's quite higher level kind of aspect, but there are still quite a few kids who will just say, oh no, my religion is the religion, but then also understanding different cultural perspectives and being able to have a bit of a kōrero that you're challenging them, but you're not like preaching to them, if that makes sense.
Yep. One of the cool things about when we explain the different forms of atua is like they are the energies, because when we're explaining tāne mahuta, we're actually talking about when we look at the forest, the name that comes to us is the energy of the forest is known as tāne mahuta. And so it's not really talking about a god, but they are custodians or the deities. Because when we talk about atua, the biggest mispronunciation or misunderstanding, miscommunication was the word that was given to the word atua in English was God. And so there are many particular pathways you can go down into it, but the cool thing about learning about ngā atua, Kelly and I are still learning. We're still students in the realms of atua as well. Now, although we have obtained and attained and are learned in different aspects of atua pane, atua wahine, atua apakura, there are still, many things to learn. And there are still many aspects of it. And like what Victoria was talking about earlier, it's just that reciprocation, that continued reciprocation of energy of the, some of the best kaiako are akonga themselves. Some of the best teachers are learning off your students. And if you can do that, have the humility to do that, as well as the engagement to uphold that, that's where the real treasure is because that builds trust, that builds communication, and that builds just those little things. Now, a lot of people wonder why Māori have to go through certain processes, because this is what you're wanting to do, but Māori always tend to do these things like whakawhanaungatanga before we even get there. Whakawhanaungatanga takes a lot longer than getting to it, but once you've done that, everything else just goes done. Whereas if you didn't do whakawhanaungatanga, went straight there, there's that state of unease throughout the whole time. But once you have that whakawhanaungatanga aspect completed in the beginning, man, the flow that happens, the flow-on effect, is like you're riding the best left-hand brake in Raglan that you have ever before. Yeah.
We have that whole kōrero around atua. If you have a look at the image behind me, is a nice, real simple way of understanding the energy that Horo was talking about. That's the energy of Tāwhiri. It's the energy of I'll put it here. It's the energy of Tāwhiri Mātea in a different way, as a pictorial kind of way of seeing it. But if we talk about what Horo said, is that it's actually a collection of energy. So if we look at Tangaroa is that whole realm of the ocean, all the living beings inside of the ocean. We just call that Tangaroa as an atua, as a collective word. We call, like Horo said, everything about the ngahere is around tāne, and there's so many different aspects. The birds are called tāne hoka hoka, parts of Tāne Mahuta, part of the trees, the canopy. When we go into all these different realms where we exist as humans, they are where the atua are. But as Horo said, we're still learning new atua because the world's changing all the time. There's different energies that we interact with now. I mean, people are living now out in satellites or space stations. People can live in different environments. They can live in submarines now, for 6 months. So we're kind of looking at different environments that our tupuna didn't interact with, and therefore there's an atua that's there that helps us interact with the energy there, and that's all we do. We just talk about the atua as energy states where human beings generally in existence, or we struggle to exist there.
Any other whakaaro or kōrero whānau?
I like the spin it's had for my students in a composition way. Like we did being winter and stuff, we've been doing a lot of compositions around ice and walking to school, and they've been getting little sound bites of crunching feet on the ice, and then they've been doing like odes to the mountains, and this is just stuff that we never did before. Like for level 1 we were, what's your chord, what's your harmonies, we're all talking about the bullshit. Seems like bullshit now, because now when I hear them talk about, this is my ode to my mountain, and I've recorded this water from my tap to be my waterfall, and these are kids that just don't even talk like that. And then I've just been to Jazz Combo at Ara, at Jazz Quest, our old stomping ground, Kelly, and the kids got ripped to shreds by the tutors in this highly competitive load of bullshit again. And it's recorded, I should watch what I say. But then to go back to more authentic music where the kids sound passionate and they're creating, and the stuff they're coming up with is just so much better, and it's all done in a nice wholesome way. So I think being trapped in a composition model for the last 20-30 years, and then to re-look at it through the lens and Te Ao Māori, it's just amazing how it's coming out. And it's late for me to get to this, but I'm really happy that the kids are having the balance between that and the traditional competitive music, which can be a bit of a painful, soulless place to be.
Kia ora, Jane. I'm glad you said that. That's very important for us. If we look at Royal Schools or Trinity, look at those pathways, they're actually quite competitive. They don't look like they are, but they're really competitive in the way the person is pitted against the other kids in the class, of whether you're like grade 4, 5, 6, whatever. The kids who make LTCL and they do those sort of things, they're deemed to be greater musicians, but it's not true. We also look at this as puoro as a way of socializing music. That's its whole goal. It's actually to create a social context where you can walk around the neighborhood and people are celebrating the simplicity of playing a shell or something like that, and actually being, that's what you just said, is it? I remember being in jazz school and Bob Hines said to me, he wrote on my assessment, 10 tons of manure after I finished. And I thought that was great. I just laughed for ages, but one of the guitarists in my group who got the same sort of thing, he walked off, left his guitar plugged in, and we didn't see him for 2 or 3 months. It really affected him. So those kind of things, but it made me stronger as a musician. I was like, 10 tons of manure, who's got that comment? But, puoro's not around that, eh? So it's so important to have both, because that other context is teaching us how to be hard and inside the music industry so we can survive and put bread on the table. But this way is another way of doing it. They're really important. We're lucky. We're lucky to have both.
Yeah. Hey, bro, are you able to jump back onto that shared thing again? And there's the whakatauki for this week, whānau. The whakatauki actually explains what everyone's been talking about, and in a real holistic type of way. I've added a couple of whakatauki, one being from Te Ao Māori, and the other being, I don't know why, but I seem to like some of the little sayings that old Mr. Albert Einstein says. But the first one is, ki te kotahi te kākaho ka whati, ki te kapuia e kore e whati. And it was a saying from King Tāwhiao, whereas if there's but one toi stem, it'll break. But if they are together in a bundle, they will never break. And it's sort of like, that's what it means literally. I wanted to write the literal definition there, just to say this is a whakatauki that's used all over the country. And it really explains that if we go down the path by ourselves, it can be very treacherous. But if we know that we are down there, we've got a whānau with us, we've got a, you've got your other students with you, you've got your community with you, nothing can break you. If you know you're in there with your community, you're in there with your collective, nothing can break you. And that has been shown and exampled over the many, many years during this journey between our bicultural country, multicultural country now. And so what you've all been talking about is, hearing about those students engaging in that particular way, when, having fun with the environment, hearing the crackling of ice underneath your shoes and actually picking up those sounds that you wouldn't have otherwise heard before, apart from just smashing the icicles underneath going to school just for the hell of smashing it. But now that sound vibration and frequency is coming into it more, you've been able to give them the opportunity to enhance their learning capabilities, their listening capabilities into the environment. All of these new sounds of simplicity become chaos, and so, but that's why I really wanted to sort of like add Albert Einstein's little key. The true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination. Adding on from his other one, but the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination. And what you are now doing in your kura is by allowing your students to make and play porotiti, by getting them to pick up stones and tap those stones, by getting the taonga pōro and recording it and playing technology with it. They're starting to explore, they're starting to create their own new sounds. That's called imagination. It's not all about just the algorithms of what's out there. That's where, we continue to talk about this thing, AI, artificial intelligence. I'll continue to say AI can be turned around into ancestral intelligence, because ancestral intelligence works on mana. It doesn't work on algorithm. Algorithm is a program setting that repeats itself and builds upon itself and is what it is, doesn't change for nothing. Whereas mana works on the collective expression. Mana, ancestral intelligence works on, mana tangata, mana whānau, mana wahine, mana tāne. The integrity works on the Māori, the pure essence of the knowledge, of the learning, of the kaupapa, of the context, and that we are talking about. And so these two whakatauki, these two proverbs here, are once again here, added to all the other ones that we've shared over the last 8 weeks, just to let you know that there are many more of these types of simple sayings that can help. And so I've put 3 images here to talk about it. The 2 settings of, with that one there with Richard Nuns and Hidden Melbourne, is they were the ones, they were known as the ebony and ivory of the revitalisation of taonga pōro. There you had one Māori boy, one Pākehā boy, showing the true partnership in Te Tiriti o Waitangi in the revitalisation of taonga pōro. What they done has been rippled out into Indigenous nations all around the world on how to revitalise a cultural practice together. Someone from the culture and someone external to that culture that has fallen in love with that particular practice. In the middle is taonga pōro, some of my collection. This image has been used all around the world. Sometimes people don't tell me, I find out about it. by seeing it online, which is quite funny. And then the third image there is talking about, you know, that true sign of intelligence is not knowledge but imagination. You know, there goes a particular, it's known as te whare harikoa, and, you know, that whole whare is an interpretation of a whare tupuna that has been made by wool. You know, it was created by wool by a wife and husband that loves, I forgot the name of it. What do you call it when you
Crocheting.
crochet? Yeah. And so it's a whole tupuna whare.
Cool.
It's a full-size tupuna whare that has been created all by crochet. And if you haven't seen it, it's going to be going around the country shortly. This particular image there is at Waikato Museum, but the Whare Harikoa will be doing a tour around the country. If you actually get an opportunity, get your students to go and see it. Get your students to go and see if they can compose from going in, get them to spend an hour or two in the whare, come out and express via music what they thought of the Whare Harikoa. Because from seeing something that has come out of pure imagination, it can spark a flame of imagination and innovation like the Whare Harikoa has done into spaces that we are yet to explore. And so, ai whānau, that's our whakatauki for this week. Kia ora, bro, thanks for sharing the page. I just really wanted to show you this in terms of where we come from, in terms of the revitalisation of Taonga Puoro, that those two gentlemen, Dr. Hirini Melbourne and Dr. Richard Nuns, were key components of the revitalisation, right through to modern interpretation of innovation, being the Whare Harikoa. It's not Taonga Puoro, but because of that whare, Taonga Puoro practitioners have composed music that worked alongside the Whare Harikoa in its creation and created new forms of music. And young and old, as young as babies being carried into that whare, through to nannies and koros that have cried in that whare, it has created innovation in a very intuitive way and an educational way that Taonga Puoro, and in this particular case, our kaupapa exploring musical histories and tikanga with Taonga Puoro. You know, in order to learn about tikanga whānau, we must break tikanga. And being non-Māori, sometimes that can seem like you're falling into an abyss, into a black hole, and you're like, oh no, what's going to happen? And that's
you're going to get a growling too from a neni. We get a growling from a neni. It's all good. Just take it on the chin, you know, take it on the taringa.
Yeah, and it's really about for the last 8 weeks, Kelly and I have, you know, been able to teach you about Taonga Puoro for 1 hour each Tuesday evening for 8 weeks. As you've noticed, out of all of these 8 hours, you know, we haven't really spent a lot with specific Taonga Puoro. We haven't spent a lot of time talking about the actual materials that are used. We've used the Taonga Puoro, we've engaged with the Taonga Puoro, and we've done that in a way just to let you know that although the Taonga Puoro is the practice, there are so many other threads, there are so many other stems, there are so many other vines that are connected to the learning of Taonga Puoro that sometimes are not even Taonga Puoro. They are karakia, they are waiata, they are connections, they are whakawhanaungatanga, and all of those things are really important in learning about the ihi, the wehi, and the wana using the engagement of Taonga Puoro. Like you see this, it is the wood that comes from the ngahere, comes from the forest, that you must learn what is the wood. This particular wood is mātai. You know, then you see the binding the materials that are used to bring the two pieces of the putorino together. Then there's the carving that carve the stories. Then there's the story. Then there's the patterns. Then there's all these things connected to the putorino that are not even talking about the music that the putorino makes. And so with all of this engagement, there are so many different aspects of the exploration into the musical histories with Taonga Puoro. And I've been in this practice, and Kelly's, we've been in this practice for well over 20 years, at least 20 years each within the practice of Taonga Puoro, and we continue to learn about the simplicities. We continue to roll and being the student, then being the teacher, then back to the student, walking into the ngahere, where bang, we're back again being we're kohanga reo sometimes. When we see a new shrub, when we see a new bush, when we find a new leaf that we can pick up and fold and bend and play, and you're like, whoa, what's this? This is the rongoa aspect of this leaf. This is the name, and the name is actually talks about this, and the story connected to this forest goes back to this atua wahine, this female deity, this atua tane, this male deity. And so there's an endless, what seems like an endless supply of story and engagement that we have access to when engaging with Taonga Puoro. And I hope within this last 8 weeks, we've been able to, if not answer, we've been able to entice you into researching, entice you into exploring, entice you into making that phone call to your local marae, to the local Māori musos, or the local whānau, from whether it is your music teacher or even engaging with whānau kapahaka to start a journey. And you're going to make mistakes along the way, whānau. We continue to make mistakes ourselves, but the cool thing about it is it's what we do from those mistakes. It's what we do from those learnings. And going back to what I said earlier, that the bro has really, it was really cool doing the 3 Ps with the 3 Es, having that engagement, exploring and embracing, or protecting, using that protection, participation and partnership, and being able to learn and understand that we sometimes what we think we're learning is totally not what you expect that's going to happen. And it's just understanding that it's okay. You now have a community, although these Tuesday evenings are maybe coming to an end, you now have within this collective a community. You have networks now, not only to myself and Kelly, but to all the other teachers that are here, that have jumped on board for 1 or 2 weeks or a few more weeks, and that when Wānanga come up, there's going to be the opportunity to involve yourself, or even when other Taonga Puoro practitioners have opportunities like Jake Skinner and like Mahina and Ariana and all those other ones from the different areas. I've just been asked if I could lecture down at Massey University at College of Creative Arts in Wellington, and I've just written, just in this last week, that's what the crazy thing is, I've had to write 2 elective papers in this last week for introductions to Taonga Puoro and explorative avenues of Taonga Puoro, as a 100 and 200 paper at Massey University in Wellington City, and they're keen to, some of the lecturers go, can I come in your class, bro? But knowing and understanding that, there are always opportunities. And when one pathway closes, another one will open. It's just hearing for it. It's calling out to the tīrairaka, because they're usually the first manu to figure out, where's the next pathway, or the pi waka waka is usually the nosy bird in the ngahere, that as soon as you step off the car park into the pathway going into any forest, you're going to see some fantails coming right up to you and playing around and singing and dancing and prancing. They're just sussing you out. This is a new pathway. Are you down for it? You know, and so I'll let Kelly have a kōrero, but you know, it's been a beautiful journey, whānau, and I hope, you know, the archive that's been created in these 8 sessions do help not just us or yourselves on this online thing, but all teachers that actually touch base with these sessions. And I hope we do actually hear feedback, both myself and Kelly. I hope we do hear feedback from Kaiako, because, you know, we are very protective about mātauranga Māori, and anyone that comes into this journey, you know, there is a time that we build trust, we build engagement, and we are from history. We are very protective of our tamariki and of our taonga, and at the same time we are very open in sharing and learning about them to those that we know and trust will take care of the knowledge, will take care of the learning, will take care of the mātauranga. And so it's been a beautiful journey, e te whānau. I do hope we see yous along the way and continue to cross paths in the learning through Mensa and through your kura, whichever kura that is, from Waiorea all the way through. You know, at the moment, you know, the national kapahaka, secondary school kapahaka is happening down in Nelson as we speak. The first day was today, you know, so our kids continue to explore Māori music in beautiful ways. And if we are there, you know, supporting them, acknowledging them, and challenging them, don't forget the challenge, and finding our ways, allowing them to explore those challenges and allowing them to fail, for them to ask the question of awhi mai, you know, of reaching that hand, and you being that first hand, say, kei te pai, what you're asking for, this is what I can help with. Because it builds trust, it builds their trust in you as the educator, as the teacher. And whānau, it's been a beautiful journey. So kei a koe hoa, Kelly.
Kia ora rau atu, that's what I like to say. Dropping some bombs there, Horomona. There's a lot of things, you know, I think that a beautiful thing that Horomona just said is that we're very protective over our mātauranga Māori, but to create the relationship first. As you probably realise, as we feel a little bit more comfortable with the roku here, we've started to let some more of the things that we're allowed to let out. Some of the stuff we don't share as well, because it's actually personal investigation. We're really big on that. I think that if we look at it this way, that inside, imagine like about going back in the times where people lived inside an enclosed type of situation, like you know, castle or walls around a village, walls around a town. Most of the people live inside of the walls, and they get told not to venture outside. You know, that it's dangerous out there. There are robbers out there. There are wild animals out there. So most people stay within the walls. But artists and musicians, poets, our job is to actually be the ones who sneak out the gates. We go into the ngahere and we start to discover things. We just sit there and go, there's no wild animals in here that I'm afraid of, or it's not too bad out here, and there's all this kai out here. This is actually pretty beautiful out here. And then we start to learn things, and we go back into the town and we're trying to tell people what we've seen out there, and they're actually very interested in it. So the whole role to be a musician and an artist is to come back and tell tales of what we've seen out there in the natural world that people are scared of. To be a taonga pūoro lover, I say a lover of the art form, is to do that, is to keep on bringing back tales, the sounds of our atua. Papa Tuanuku told me this out in the ngahere yesterday, and I think it's an important message I need to share with you all. Tāne Mahuta is finding it a little bit hard to breathe right now because the stifling impact of the city. The impact of the airport is now making such a huge influence now on the soundscape, the biophony, and the ngahere, that we're starting to lose some of our signature species of insects. Therefore, I heard this silence in the forest I haven't heard in years. These sort of things, this is what we've got to bring back. So this is up to you and our akonga to be reporters of what they are seeing out there in the taiao, to bring it back. And puoro is a way to tell that story. That's what we use it for. It's a vehicle. Therefore, I encourage you all, being matariki on Friday, to use your puoro with your family in some way that's meaningful for you. And the way that I'm going to do it is I take the kids up on top of Parihaka, which is one of our maunga here. We go up there and we blow the pukaia, we take the pūtatara, the pūmoana like these, and the kids will have a go at it. It sounds like some cows, you know, mating for a little bit, for about the first 5 minutes sometimes. And that's cool. They all have a good crack up. When they crack the note and they send it out there, then they send the names of their loved ones. So those people have passed on. And the kids do that. They send the name out on the wind. And we also talk a lot, this year we're going to talk about Pohutukawa. So Pohutukawa is one of the stars of Matariki, one of Te Iwa or Matariki. And Pohutukawa is the one that we talk about, those who have passed on. But Pohutukawa is in strife at the moment in the ngahere. Myrtle rust. So it's a way to bring awareness, you know, that the ngahere has actually got a message for us. And actually Pohutukawa is not really a ngahere tree, is it? It's more you see around the coastlines. Therefore, birds like the kōtari are messengers. They come from out at sea and they come inland, and they actually nest in places like, well, they hang out in Pohutukawa. So they're bringing stories from Tangaroa into land, and they're taking stories from land out to Tangaroa again. So get the kids to be mindful. Use puoro. And just before we finish off, if anyone would like to say, what are you doing for Matariki? Anyone got anything planned for Matariki this Friday that they feel confident?
I'm pretty keen to head up to the marae at Bastion Point at 5:30 in the morning. But it's my partner's 32nd birthday, and if she wants to sleep in, then can't really do anything about that. But she seems keen. I'm pretty keen. I guess the one thing I feel is that other than when I did my teaching year and I went to the AUT marae, I've never been to a marae. And I think it's time that I did that, the confidence to do it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to put it in the chat there. You can enact Maui tinihanga, Maui nukarau, and you can just say, hey, there's an amazing breakfast that I've got sorted out for you up at a beautiful place called Takaparafo. And it is an exotic breakfast for two, and just skate up there at 5:30 and oh heck, there's about 4,000 people here. What's going on here? Maui tinihanga, Maui the trickster. Anyone else have any whakaaro what you might be doing on Matariki with your whānau? Keep it humble, whānau, that's what I'd say. Keep it small, keep it humble.
We're just heading away as a whānau. We've got a little place up in the Wairarapa, so we're just taking that time out to be together, and lots just food and togetherness and storytelling, and we have the taonga with us too, because they love to play those, so just whānau time.
Beautiful. Well, I'd like to just say thank you, everybody, because without you, especially the hearty ones who turn up either each session or most of the sessions, without you being here, we've got nobody to interact with. And it's actually, you've shaped our interactions. I'd like to thank Horo for actually putting together the program and sticking to it. As you could see, the last 2 weeks as I got to drive the waka, I took it off on a totally different place. We ended up at some islands where everyone's going, oh no, what's happened here? We've been blown off course. But it's nice over here. But kia ora, thank you for having the Kaiho 2 back, the steerer back in here to steer us on their way. And I've really enjoyed these sessions a lot. So, ngamihi atu ki a koutou. Without further ado, I think that we were going to do our karakia whakamutu, hey? Thanks for hanging in.
Before we do that, Kelly and Horo, thank you so much for leading us and teaching us Mataranga Māori and sharing your knowledge with us. It has filled my kete of knowledge and also filled my heart and allowed me to focus on my hora and going in different directions on how I can teach my students, even though I'm no longer in the music classroom. It is still inspiring for me, and one day I will be back in the music classroom. I just don't know when. I just need a bit of a break. But yeah, thank you for inspiring me and ensuring that Aotearoa will be in a good place. Or she'll be, yeah. So thank you so much. And there is the form there if everyone could fill out. It'd be great.
Oh, cool as Ben. Is that going to go to our, those who need to download that, have a look at it as well. It'll probably go to our emails as well. Those online who have watched this later on in retrospect, please, for means it'd be good if you filled that out too, because we do have participants outside of these live sessions. I'm going to do one more thing here before we finish off. So what we say in Te Ao Māori is ka takoto te manuka. And it would be remiss of Horomona and myself if we didn't actually put down a challenge. And the challenge for you all is to be tūturu in Te Ao Puoro is to master one instrument first at a time. Okay, so I'd like you to choose what that instrument is over the next 12 months that you're going to master in Te Ao Puoro. You might even, become very proficient in one thing over 6 months, but it doesn't matter. As long as you just choose one of those instruments that you'd like to master over the next 12 months, that's your instrument, okay? You don't have to know them all. Like myself and Horo, you just heard we've had so many years of experience that we just pick up new ones on the way. But at the start, we had an instrument. My first one was putorino. Okay, that's the one that because I got gifted a putorino. So it was, okay, I was playing the koaua. I was like, hang on, put that to sleep. Got a putorino. So whatever's there for you. It could be playing your head bone with your knuckles and trying to do Silent Night on it. Up to you, but you know, it's a legitimate puoro. Kapai whānau. So here we go. Here's our karakia whakamutunga. For those who are watching at home, got stuff on the way here. The second part of it is starts off ko te ao whekere, ko te ao whatuma, ko te ao marama, ko te ao tūroa, and that talks about the different forms of light now, the different forms of energy that came in after the long nights. And from there, tupu kere kere, tupu wana wana became growth, exponential growth, proliferated. And from there we have rehia, and rehia is who Horomona and I pay reverence to as the, basically it's a natua, that's the art form of pleasure. In Te Ao Māori pleasure, that means we, so rehia comes along, and then from there we have hinero katauri. She's the one that we attribute to the sounds that come out of the forest, that are the flute sounds, in putorino for instance. Hinero katamia, some say that that's her diametric polar opposite as another personality, and she's the one of movement. Hinero katamia is the one of movement, so she actually has music coming out of the body. Hine moana, she's Tangaroa's, she's the water, where Tangaroa is the creatures inside of the ocean. She's the actual tides and the flow of water. We've got Hine Moke Moke, which she's the one who is the, for those travellers who travel up in Maunga, and they're up there by themselves, Hine Moke Moke is going to keep them comfort. And that's all those sounds that you hear of the ice, with the wind rushing over it. Ko Pepe, Pepe is the male form, which is in putorino, which actually encapsulates the moths, and we really revere moths. The moths, the nighttime creatures. Wao Nui, Wao Roa, Te Ku, Te Whē, Te More. Wao Nui and Wao Roa, Te Wao Nui is the great wilderness of the forest and of the ocean. Te Ku, Te Whē, Te More is part of our whakapapa of where energy changes from growth into sound, into embodiment of ideas and imagination put into form. Iahu mai koe e here, where did you come from? Iahu mai koe ki tāwhiti tai, from the places where our ancestors navigated from on the oceans. Tāwhiti uta, where they landed, and then they set up iwi hapu. Tāwhiti runga, that's actually talking about the ones who came from the stars, which my people, oho mairangi, came from the stars. Tāwhiti raro, those people who come from the ground, like tupu tupu whenua. Ka puta ko putorino, now there's all our instruments that come out of here, which we know about. Ngā reo wa waiti, these are the stars, where the sounds of our waiata come from as well. ngā reo wawai tā, te reo aio, te reo aio. The language of the great creator, which becomes the language of peace. Te reo mā, te reo uri, the language of purity, the language of darkness. Put together we have Māori, which is like the yin and yang in a way, of the light and the dark together. Te reo tū, te reo tūwā. Uhi wairo, which is a way of the dog cloak, so it's actually covering everything with the dog skin cloak. Tau mai te hauora, now your health is upon you. Haumi e hui e tai kia. Let's do this karakia together. Ngā whakaroto, hā whakawaho. Ngā whakaroto, ngā salong, hā whakawaho. Last one, ngā whakaroto. Ko te ao whekere, ko te ao whatuma, ko te ao maorama, ko te ao tūroa. Tupu kere kere, tupu wana wana. Ko rehia, ko hine rau ka tauri, ko hine rau ka tamea. Ko hine moana, ko hine moku moke, ko pepe, ko wao nui, ko wao roa, ko te kū, te whē, te more. Yahu mai koe i hea, yahu mai koe ki tāwhiti tai, tāwhiti uta, tāwhiti runga, tāwhiti raro. Ka puta ko pū tōino, ko pū tātara, ko pū kaia, ko pū moto moto, ko pū rerehua, ko pū oro. Ngā reo wō waiti, ngā reo wō waitā. Te reo aio, te reo aio. Te reo mā, te reo uri, te reo Māori. Te reo tū, te reo tūwā uhi. Wairo, tau mai te hauora. Haumi e, hui e, tai ki e.
Mauri ora.
Well done if you remember the explanation of that karakia one day, but teach part of it to your students when they get more and more advanced. That's pretty much it now. If you've got a joke, ka pai. Otherwise, the lights are on at the bar. Yeah.
Tārawi whānau.
Ngā mihi nui.
Ngā mihi nui.
Manawatia Matariki. Thank you.
Manawatia Matariki.
Thank you very much.
Until the next one.
Ah. Kia ora
Hey,
koutou.
the way we say that is mā te wā.
Ngā te wā.
That also means it'll keep. If someone does you something bad, you say, mā te wā.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Aoi.
Anui te pai. Kia ora koutou.